Incredicoaster is an intimate launch coaster located at California Adventure in the Disneyland Resort. This is one of the most thrilling Disney coasters and even has an inversion in the layout. This coaster has over 6,000 feet of track and clocks in at a total ride time of 2 minutes and 36 seconds. In today's video, we will be diving deep into the world of The Incredibles and on a wild chase of Baby Jack Jack to analyze and review the intimate launch coaster, Incredicoaster. Before we start the video, I would really appreciate it if you like and subscribe. It means a lot more than you think and will help a small channel like us grow. As always, we will start with the queue. This line has both a standby and a landing lane queue. It is really not that special. You have switchbacks going up towards the station until you go up to some stairs and into the dual loading platform. There's a small introduction on some TV screens that displays some entertaining clips of the Incredibles talking about a roller coaster being opened in their name, but it's really not too much. Once you get to the station, like I said before, it is a dual loading platform. The trains are, for the lack of a term, mid. There are 12 rows of 2 for a total of 24 riders. The problem is that there's over-the-shoulder restraints. I'll talk more about these later in the video because they do create some problems. If you guys did not know, this coaster was rethemed from California Screamin'. I'll get more into this later into the video again, but the trains are the same and a reskin from the old version. Once you're dispatched, an audio cue comes on that asks Edna to watch the baby. She loses Jack Jack and the ride starts. Dash counts you off before you launch off to the layout. The launch is pretty forceful for Disney. I would say it's a little more powerful than your typical mock launch. It's not the most powerful thing in the world, but it does pack in a good punch. The launch is also right on the water, so it provides a cool thing to watch from the pier, and water splashes out from the sides as you launch away. The layout immediately starts with an upwards hill. You do get some positive G's climbing up this hill, but it's not bone crushing. This is one of the many moments throughout the ride where Disney has attempted theming by putting in figures throughout the numerous tunnels. This one has Baby Jack Jack shooting off purple lasers out of his eyes, and it lights up in the dark. You then drop down, and on this crest you can get a faint pop of airtime. Halfway down is when the on-ride soundtrack really kicks in and the Incredibles music starts. While we are on the topic, I have to say this is a very good on-ride soundtrack, maybe not as good as Screamin', but it adds a lot to the coaster and makes it a much more enjoyable experience. You then have a sloped upward right turn that leads into a trim. There are many of these brake runs throughout the ride. Disney pumps out trains at a speed like no other, and these are crucial to the fast operations. However, none of these runs hits hard and you could barely tell that any speed is lost. This brake run leads into one of the first widespread complaints about the ride. The general public, mostly being family-oriented, does not care about this much, but roller coaster enthusiasts criticize Incredicoaster for meandering too much. There is a long, slow right turn here that leads into a left turn into the first chain lift. As much hate as this gets, and there is more to come, I personally really like these moments, maybe a lot more than I should. I love listening to the on-ride soundtrack, and zooming around Pixar Pier, it puts a smile on my face and makes me feel really cool. I know I'm weird. Following this, you enter a second tunnel that has a chain lift. This shows Elastigirl stretching out and grabbing Baby Jack Jack, who is eating a cookie. Disney, on their highest level of theming, pumps out the smell of fresh baked chocolate chip cookies. I actually am not a fan of the scent effect. It's a good idea, but for some reason it does not resonate with me while I'm riding the coaster. It almost smells bad to me. Maybe it's because I am prone to motion sickness and eating on a roller coaster does not sound pleasant to me, or maybe it's just a bad smell to begin with. Who knows, I just don't like the smell at all. You then crest the lift hill into another drop. This can give some small floater airtime in the back row. It's really faint, but it's there. This drop used to scare me as a kid because it lifted me out of the seat a little. That's why I know there is some airtime there. Anyways, you pull out of the first drop with another meandering section and a huge right turn. This leads into the one and only inversion on the entire Disneyland Resort. You dip down before heading into a vertical loop. I have absolutely no idea what happened here, but up to this point and after this point, the coaster is glass smooth, but as soon as you hit that vertical loop, it just becomes rattly. I barely notice it, but I can recognize it's there. Other enthusiasts criticize it a lot, so I just wanted to point that out. This loop delivers some sustained positive G's. It's a bit forceful and on the level of I-305 or even close to that, but it's on the more intense side for a Disney coaster. Following this, you go up into another tunnel before dropping down. This one has some strobing lights and of course a Baby Jack Jack. I do not know what's exactly trying to tell, but it's at least better than the cookie tunnel. You then hit another long meandering segment that contains a very long drawn out right turn before turning left into a series of bunny hills. I would call them airtime hills or speed hills, but they don't offer any of the sorts. You're losing momentum by this point, and these hills that would look to give airtime really don't. If you're in the back couple of rows, you can feel a faint sense of floater. It's very faint, but I know it's there, I felt it before. Following this, you head into another section of ride that meanders. It's basically a bank left downward helix, kind of, except it does not provide any forces whatsoever. This is where the picture is taken, and besides that, it is rather pointless. You then hit the brake run and Jack Jack has returned. There is a small show scene on the left. There's no animatronics, just still figures, but it's still pretty cool. Now that we've gone over the entirety of the ride, I can give my full thoughts on it. Fun. That's the easiest way to put it. This coaster is not forceful, it's not elite, it's not the best of the best, I would say it's just fun. I in fact think this coaster is quite underrated and does not deserve some of the takes it gets. Yes, there's a lot of meandering, but it adds a lot to the ride. I really don't know what else Disney would put there anyways, as they are trying to keep this more available to families. The other complaint this coaster gets is the rough vertical loop. I have to say I did not even realize this was a thing until it was pointed out to me, which I find really surprising since I'm especially prone to roughness. Maybe it's because I'm focusing on the inversion rather than the smooth at that point, but I really didn't feel it. The last common complaint that this ride gets is the over-the-shoulder restraint, and I have to agree with this, it is really pointless. You do not need it whatsoever. This ride would do perfectly fine with just a lap bar, however, it was Disney's decision on it since it makes families feel more comfortable riding this big of a coaster. And hey, it's not like you're getting elite airtime or hang time, the over-the-shoulder restraint does hinder the view, but that's really about it. Now the storyline is okay. Chasing Baby Jack Jack adds more of a purpose to the ride. The theming is not the best level Disney could do, but this is an outdoor coaster, and for that I have to say they did do their best. Well, kind of. I definitely think that they could have changed this from Screaming to Incredicoaster. They should have put on new trains instead of just painting it. Also, the Boardwalk coaster now looks kind of out of place. Pixar Pier was made out of Paradise Pier, with Disney trying to slap on their IP after a rather unsuccessful California theme, so why the coaster looks out of place along with most of the land. I think it would have made the area look a little better without the metal supports that look like wood. It would open up the pier and make the park look a little better. Despite this, I do not have that much of a grudge. I'd like to take a second to talk about California Screaming. I did get the chance to ride this version multiple times, and I have to say I do like it better as Screaming. The soundtrack was more enjoyable to ride with and jam out to than the Incredibles theme. I don't think the retheme hurt the ride experience too much though, as it's still an enjoyable coaster for me and one that I really like. Overall, I think that the Incredicoaster is an underrated coaster and does not deserve some of the hate that it gets. It is perfect for what it's trying to achieve as a beginner thrill coaster and an extreme coaster that the whole family can enjoy. The launch is fun, the layout is cool, the onboard soundtrack is amazing, and the feeling of flying around is great. For a final score out of 10, I'm giving Incredicoaster an 8. That's all for today's video guys. As always, make sure to like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.